Welcome once again to the official Colorado Sports Hall of Fame podcast. I'm Dave Plati.
And I'm Jim Saccomano. We are your co-hosts with over 90 years of experience working in Colorado sports. Myself with the Denver Broncos and Dave with the CU Buffaloes. And both of us at one time with the Denver Bears, among our many other experiences.
We are continuing our reveal of 150 significant moments in Colorado sports history. The state's 150th birthday is approaching August 1st, the date in 1876 that Colorado was admitted as the 38th state in the Union. A veteran committee ranked the top 50 of those moments, all culled from over 2,000 that have been collected and counting. We still have to see what the Avalanche do. Those were ranked by 19 people with over 800 years experience covering and or working in Colorado sports. We've been counting down at a rate of 5 per week, and we will do daily for the last top 10 come the end of July.
We've already covered numbers 51 through 150 in our previous podcasts, and we now begin those moments that were actually ranked after being debated by the committee. Thus, up first are numbers 46 through 50. For the first 100, we want to be sure we covered all areas of the state, and most, if not all, sports, but all were still significant moments. All have been archived on the Colorado Sports Hall of Fame website, along with all our podcasts. Go to coloradosports.org, click on the menu bar, and then Top 50 Moments or Podcasts. Top 150 Moments or Podcasts, rather.
And as always, but first, we like to revisit a few other moments in Colorado sports history that aren't in those 150. These moments were identified chronologically, signifying their importance at the time and that had a significant impact on the state sports scene. For example,
in May 20th, 1922, over a decade ago, over 100 years ago, the only Colorado native born in Denver, Theodore Bubbles Anderson, to play in the Negro National League, made his debut on opening day for the Kansas City Monarchs against the St. Louis Stars. Batting second in the lineup, the 17-year-old singled in his first at-bat and scored the team's first run in a 4-3 13-inning win. He went 2 for 4 with a double and a sacrifice bunt. Bubbles played in all 19 games his rookie season, batting .212 with 4 stolen bases, and would play 4 seasons overall in the Negro National League for 4 different teams, 109 games with a .258 average. Anderson was inducted into the Colorado Sports Hall of Fame in 2025.
Now, that was 1922. We're going to go back to 1893, May 20th
Wow.
in particular. The first event was held at Colorado School of Mines Alumni Field, the Colorado Intercollegiate Athletic Association's Field Day, which was a competition in several athletic events between Mines, CU, Colorado A&M, and Denver. The events included a 100 and 220-yard dashes, 120-yard hurdles, shot put, baseball throw, hammer throw, standing and running broad jumps, pole vault, and standing and running high jumps. Host Mines won the most medals, edging Colorado A&M with CU third and DU fourth.
This is Mark Johnson, voice of the Colorado Buffaloes. As we count down the greatest moments in Colorado sports history, it's worth remembering that great sports moments don't just happen. They're built on preparation, resilience, and staying healthy. And in Colorado, a great sports moment can mean something different to everyone, from Hall of Fame athletes to anyone who simply wants to keep moving. Whether you're chasing championships, personal bests, or just a pain-free morning run, the team at CU Sports Medicine and Performance Center delivers exceptional sports medicine care, from prevention and recovery to performance. Founded right here in Boulder, the CU Sports Medicine and Performance Center brings together CU medicine providers and Boulder community health clinicians to provide comprehensive care that's close to home and rooted in the community they serve. Learn more at cusportsmedicincenter.com.
And now, on with the countdown.
The greatest moments in Colorado sports history, number 50.
This was on December 14th, 2024. The second Heisman Trophy winner in the state and third in the Mountain Time Zone was awarded to Colorado's two-way star, Travis Hunter. He caught 96 passes for 1,258 yards and 15 touchdowns, with 4 interceptions and 11 pass deflections on defense. The first player in history to be named first team on both offense and defense on the Walter Camp Foundation's All-America team, he followed Deion Sanders to Colorado from Jackson State in 2023. It was the closest Heisman race since 2009. He bested Boise State's Ashton Jeanty by 217 points. Of course, CU's Rashaan Salam won it in 1994, which followed BYU's Ty Detmer in 1990 for the only 3 winners in the largest time zone, how should we say, square mile size in the country.
The greatest moments in Colorado sports history, number 49.
On April 26, 1995, in their first game at Coors Field, the Colorado Rockies had to rally from a rundown 3 different times with the game on the line. Trailing 7-6 in the ninth, Larry Walker doubled to right field, scoring Walt Weiss to tie the game. Then, behind 8-7 in the 13th, Jim Tatum lined a double to left field, scoring Mike Kingery, tying the game once again. The Mets went ahead 9-8 in the top of the 14th, but in the bottom of the inning, Dante Bichette hit the first home run by a Rocky at Coors, a 3-run shot with 1 out, scoring Joe Girardi, Let's Go Joe, and Andres Galarraga for an 11-8 Colorado win.
I was actually there, and there was actually a rain delay before that started. So you had the strike that delayed the opening of the season, and we finally have a home game, and it was raining.
The greatest moments in Colorado sports history, number 48.
On December 20th, 2014, just 6 years after Coach John Wristen and devout donors resurrected the program, the CSU-Pueblo Thunder Wolves won the school's first football championship, claiming the NCAA Division II title with a 13-0 win over number 1 Minnesota State. I believe they were Minnesota State Mankato at the time. The T-Wolves finished 14-1, held the Mavericks to just 265 yards, nearly 200 yards under their season average. Chris Bonner threw from 191 yards and a touchdown, and Cameron McDonald ran for 113 yards to lead the offensive attack. CSU Pueblo reached the title game with the 3 home wins at the playoffs, defeating Angelo State 52-14, Ohio Dominican 31-28, and West Georgia 10-7.
The greatest moments in Colorado sports history, number 47.
From March 30th through April 1st, 1990, Denver became one of the last cities to host an NCAA Final Four in a typical arena, as all now are hosted in football-sized stadiums. After preparing for the event by hosting the 1985 and 1989 regionals, the games came off without a hitch. Duke beat Arkansas in the first semifinal, 97-83, with UNLV defeating Georgia Tech in the second, 90-81. In the championship game, UNLV routed Duke 103-73. Coach Jerry Tarkanian's Runnin' Rebels averaged 25.2 points for the 6 tournament games and finished with a 35-5 record.
That was 95.2 points, Jim. 25 would have been the average in the 1910s.
That's right. It was 95.2 points.
The greatest moments in Colorado sports history, number 46.
On October 22nd, 1973, declared Orange Monday in Denver, the Broncos finally made their first appearance on Monday Night Football, the 25th out of the 26 teams in the league at the time to be selected for the primo primetime slot. Buffalo was the last. The opponent was the arch nemesis Oakland Raiders. Billy Thompson returned a fumble 80 yards for the game's first score. Oakland countered with an 80-yard play of its own, a TD pass from Ken Stabler to Mike Siani. But field goals ruled most of this night, with Oakland's George Blanda, who had to be in his mid-40s by then, making 3, as did Denver's Jim Turner, whose 35-yarder with 3 seconds remaining forged a 23-23 time. At the time, it was the most watched Bronco game locally as well as nationally. Here's the final calls on ABC.
It was a good call. I'm sure he did come to the sideline. We saw Charlie talking to Ralston over there. So this is going to be a good one too. What are you going to do, Charlie? All right, Dr. Johnson looking over the defense. He has one timeout remaining. He'll have to use that to stop the clock. He gives a draw play to Little this time. Little driving inside the 30. 9-yard gain. Now we're looking at Turner, who will kick up the 35. Tim from 43 and 37 already tonight. This will be tying up to 23. 7 seconds remaining on a play. Right here.
At this time, we'd like to welcome our guest for this podcast, former CSU-Pueblo head coach John Wristen, and our executive producer, also a Pueblo native, Tim Simmons, both Southern Colorado, CSU-Pueblo grads. Welcome to the show, Tim and Risto.
Thank you, Dave. I'm honored to be a part of this.
And I'm glad to be here to represent the Steel City. Hey, John, you're Colorado through and through. Obviously grew up in Denver and graduated from Pueblo South, our arch nemesis, because I was a Central graduate. Then you went on to quarterback Southern Colorado. You earned a graduate degree from Adams State. Then you joined Bill McCartney's staff in 1990 as a graduate assistant. In the time that the school won a national championship, you followed Gary Barnett to Northwestern in 1992. You helped them reconstruct the program there in Evanston. You returned to CU with Barnett. Then you had a brief stint at UCLA before returning in 2007 to CSU-Pueblo. That's quite a ride.
Yeah, I feel very fortunate and, to be a part of that. And, I really think that we're up at CU and we won a national championship because I got the dry cleaning and the coffee and got the gas for all the full-time coaches, and it taught me how to go win and be a part of it. And then going to Northwestern, I think Gary did such a great job at setting a vision and attracting the right athletes to come to a different university where it's so highly academic. And then coming back to Colorado to see you, and we had a chance and be a part of the Nebraska 62-36 game was just special, and we had a great run there. And then I'm lucky I had a chance to go to UCLA, and then all of a sudden some people in Pueblo thought they were going to bring football back, and I wanted to get back to Colorado because, like you said, I'm born and raised and wanted to get back here, and it kind of started that way.
What led to Southern Colorado eliminating football back in 1984?
Well, it was funny, Sack, that I had just, in fact, I had a cup of coffee with the Denver Broncos. They kept the wrong John, in my opinion, at quarterback. But we'll leave it as it is. But I think that they at the AD at the time, Tim Mullins, I believe was his name, and he wanted to maybe try to get basketball to the Division I level, and thought about cutting football and being able to put all that money into basketball is what I recall, but I don't know for sure.
I think John has the story pretty correct there. They had a change of leadership, and of course everybody comes in and has new ideas. And football had established itself pretty well. Mike Friedman had left. Gary Richardson had taken over the program. John was on the very first team to make the NCAA tournament. What was it, John? NAI championships, 1980?
82.
82. And then the program just kind of floundered after that. And then you have a change of administration. And obviously the new folks can come in and do a lot of things better.
So let's fast forward to 2007. Now CSU-Pueblo hires you to revive a program that was dormant for 23 years. How did that come about? Talk about the early stages of what you needed to do.
Well, it was really kind of funny because I really had no clue except put my head down and go to work about where do you start? How do you go recruit? How do you order uniforms? How do you order all this stuff? In fact, my first office was on the 6th floor of the library that used to be a janitor's closet. And so I finally got a phone and been able to do the things necessary, but just went to work but the biggest thing what I realized is that I had to educate not only a community but a campus about what a college football program should look like and our accountability to them about requiring student athletes to make sure they go to class. I think there was a bad image about bringing in a football program, and I wanted them to understand. And I'll never forget our first really recruiting visit. We had 105 people in our ballroom, and our provost walked by, and I had one other coach at that time with me because they weren't going to give me another coach. And so the provost went and got the president and saw all these kids that were in there to help our enrollment, help us bring a football program to that. And so they were able to let me hire a full staff. So, I don't know if it's just one thing, but it was a lot of things that I had to do. But I remember the biggest thing was about education of what it takes to have a football program at a Division II level.
John, it's flashback to September 6, 2008, the first game back for the program. Played Panhandle State out of Goodwill, Oklahoma in that first game. You won 24-13. How special was that moment for you to see the program on the field, playing at a newly constructed stadium, the Thunderbolt?
Well, Tim, it was a lot of pressure because they were undefeated for 24 years, and we had to make sure we showed up and be a part of that. And so I was just really proud of a bunch of kids that were able to come in. I think we had about 9,500 people at the stadium at that time. And it was just a coming out type of deal. And you just didn't want to fall flat on your face. And we had a good matchup with us playing Panhandle, and we found a way to go win. And fireworks went off and everything. And I thought it was the start of something special. And we were able to find some kids that wanted to have a chance to play college football. They wanted to work on their attitude, their work ethic. And so we're able to help develop them. And it was a special time. I've been asked a lot of times, what was my favorite win? And I think that might have had to be one of my favorite wins, at least the top 5 because of the circumstances of it, Tim.
Now let's go back to 2014, where you raked in all the Coach of the Year honors nationally, and rightly so, leading the pack to a magical season, 14-1 record, the championship game win for the D2 title, and that was your 7th season. And ironically, if you go back to when Coach McCartney went to CU, he laid out a plan where he thought we could contend for the national championship in 7 or 8 seasons. So
Right.
You followed that blueprint, but did you ever imagine that could happen?
I really did because I really felt like if you didn't want to go shoot for the top, why go do it? And so I feel like I laid out a vision or trying to say, hey, we're not only going to try to compete in the RMAC, we want to compete on a national level, and we're going to go win a national championship. And I think that we were able to go and attract the right type of people that wanted to check their egos at the door, go to work, and go for the common cause of trying to go win. And we had some great kids. I mean, Morgan Fox and all those guys, and Cam McDonald and Paul Browning, and all those kids are Colorado kids. And so they were absolutely a joy to coach and be a part of. Scotland Coyle, as Plitt starting center, was absolutely unbelievable. Joe Rosenbrock from Brush High School, that was a beat digger that was a part of us being able to have something special. And so it was just nice doing it with the nucleus of a bunch of Colorado guys.
Hey, Jim, before you ask your next question, John, you lost to Fort Lewis in Durango, I think, for your only setback. But I recall at the Rocky Mountain Athletic Conference Hall of Fame last July, you talked about a special slogan that you guys had developed.
Well, we just wanted to make sure that we wanted to, before the season started, I really thought that our 2013 team was really special, and we fell a little short. And so I wanted them to really focus on trying to go through this process and develop. And so I handed out T-shirts in August as WTLG, and that's to so win the last game. And so sure enough, those slogans worked that time, and we were able to go do it, and we were able to go play in the last game, and our process was really good. We had a hiccup, like you said, at Fort Lewis, but the reality, we went down to Sam Houston and beat Sam Houston down there in their home. And they had not lost a home game in a long time, and so there were some very, very remarkable events that took place in 2014.
Did you get the T-shirt idea from your years with McCartney? Because I think in 1990, if I want to recall, Things Have Changed was '89, but I think that was the first appearance of the Road Warriors T-shirt.
Yep, Dave. I'm not the smartest guy in the world, but when I see an idea, I sure like to join in with that. And Gary was a big part of that, but being a part of that really, really cool. And so I wanted to always hang out as a slogan T-shirt that kind of defined who we were. But the key, Dave, if you remember, is sometimes you couldn't tell anybody, just us. We had to know and keep it secret and make it a code. And I don't know how long that lasts, but we lasted till the last game.
Well, in 1990, I believe we flew to Nebraska concealing the real Black Shirts T-shirts, right?
Yep, exactly right. I was on that trip, and I thought that was kind of special in a way that develop a bond or a code or an attitude, more of an attitude with your teammates.
Except there was a TV station from Omaha that filmed it, so the secret was out.
Yep, it sure was. So I'm glad we were able to pull that one off, that game.
John, Bill McCartney and Gary Barnett must have been two of the greatest influences in your life. Talk about your relationships with both and what they meant to you.
Well, Bill, it's funny. My first year, I had no idea where he was coming from. Didn't have any clue. I didn't understand the method to his madness, but the second year I said, aha, I just saw how intelligent, what a command he had of the English language, but more importantly, how he cared for the players but showed toughness on them and the way to walk that fine line. Working with Gary's been one of the greatest mentors of my life, and that Gary had a vision. He was a guy that could go, his words could go paint a picture. And, I learned so much about dealing with ups and downs from him and how to overcome adversity, how to have a chance to manage things, and how to go recruit and how to set a vision to be able to say, this is what we're going to get done. And I learned that from Gary, but Gary was also a great football coach and knows the X's and O's. And I really relied on Gary about learning the X's and O's, and it really helped me in my career.
John, obviously you left the program in pretty good shape. The Thunderwolves have had 3 straight winning seasons under Phil Vigil, your replacement, 2 Rocky Mountain Conference championships, 2 appearances in the NCAA. So obviously you've done well. But now you've taken a different direction in your coaching career. Talk about winning the RMAC women's golf title this year as a coach.
Well, I was. We had our women's golf coach resign in 1st of December, and we were in a meeting with the girls, and the girls said, "Why don't you come coach us?" So I don't know if they'll say that now, but they did that at that time. But it was a great experience. Those girls are really, really talented. And what I learned is that you got to get out of their way and you got to get them on the course of time. And each one has a little different routine. And so it was great being able to see these girls perform at a high level. And they're all Europeans. And so I had a different challenge with knowing what their culture, what their character was like, what how they did things, and I bring up some things. They go, "What are you talking about?" And I go, "Well, this is what this means." Oh, they said, "Well, this is what it means to me." So it was a great educational tool for me, and we're able to qualify for the national tournament. We got back last week, and we finished 16th in the country, and it was really a great experience for me, and I hope the girls got something out of it.
John, before you depart, kind of talk about the state of college football where you see it now. Especially, you see all the news clippings about Division One, but what's the impact of the current state of football in Division Two?
Well, I really think one of the reasons why I got out of it because it was so easy to go in and out of the transfer portal, and there was no ramifications for a kid wanting to transfer. Always thinks the grass is greener on that, and I don't like it. That's why I'm out of it. And I think that we're not teaching kids to fight through adversity. I think we're not teaching kids to compete. And we're always teaching kids now that the grass is greener on the other side versus learning how to fight through it. I don't know if you could do what we did in this state of college football. I don't know if you could build a program of accountability and growth and tough times, and because I think everybody would have been reaching out for something different, or someone would be scraping your best players off it. And so I had a lot of really, really good players. And so I don't like it. But because I don't think we're teaching the growth of these kids and their maturity of being great young adults in this world.
John, it's flashback 44 years. You're, I think, a junior or senior at then USC, and you led the nation in passing efficiency. You only played 8 games. Talk about that season in '82 as the nation's most efficient passer.
Well, I recall that I could throw a flat route to Herman Hurd that would only be about a high percentage pass for me, and he could run 80 yards and score a touchdown, and I still get 80 yards of passing credit there. So, you kind of learn how to manage the game and being able to do that. I think the key was I ended up tearing my knee up in the 8th game or whatever, and we were on a roll, and but I didn't throw a lot of interceptions, and I threw enough touchdowns to Herman and Johnny Trahan, Tony Gradishar, and those guys, and so that really helped me with that stat. But you got to have a great team around you, and we had a great team with those guys.
And
Anybody else got a question for Coach Wristen, who might pursue another coaching career in another sport, right, John?
Yeah, I'm getting my resume update. That's for sure.
fortunately, the portal hasn't really affected college golf much, but it likely will.
Well, I really have one of my best players as a freshman that entered the portal, and I've had 3 or 4 Division I schools calling about her. So,
Well, you can see someone wanting to move up in a division for their competitive natures, but what's going on in Division I is flat out ridiculous.
right. You can't falter in this day and age, but you should like to develop a program around somebody, and it's ever changing, and you got to be flexible and adjust. And I don't think I was raised that way.
I'd like to see somebody talk about their degrees.
Exactly.
At any rate, John, thanks for joining us today. We enjoyed it.
Thank you, John.
Well, I appreciate you guys, and thank you for considering CSU-Pueblo, or talking about the good days of the real USC, as we used to call it.
Great. Well, everyone, we do hope you're enjoying our podcast and are reminiscing with our trips down memory lane in the state sports history. Let's thank our sponsors, Pasta J's of Boulder, 10th and Pearl Street off the Pearl Street Mall, CU Sports Medicine, Tim's Colorado Collegiate Chronicle, and Mark Johnson for introducing each moment's number.
That is a wrap on our 31st podcast. Tune in next week for the next reveal of the state's top 150 moments, numbers 41 through 45. And a reminder that the Hall of Fame offers tours of its museum and the stadium, as well as Empower Field at Mile High.
And if you're counting along, I screwed up the script. This was our 30th podcast.